Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 17th, and I wanted to do a video about how I set up Maxymo. I've had a couple of people ask how I set this up and how I use it. I did a previous video where I talked about just kind of did a review of the actual app and kind of went through some of the setup then, but wasn't maybe as detailed as I could be. So this video is a little bit more detailed about how I've set it up and actually how it's kind of evolved since that previous video, and how I want to know a little bit more of an overview of the app. You can watch the previous video and I'll link it here. And the thing that I would start out with, first of all, is you need to know before you set up Maxymo, I think it's very important for you to establish and determine what your costs are to drive. What is your cost? Because that's going to determine a lot about how you set this app up to your benefit to make a profit. If you've watched the video that I did for my February and March earnings, which I'll link here, I go over how I have determined my cost to drive, and I use that as the basis for how I set up Maxymo to earn a profit and only take profitable rides. So I would really encourage you to go and watch that video, maybe even prior to this one, just so you have an understanding of how I've come up with these numbers and how I got here and how you can do the same thing. And if I need to, I'd be happy to do a video on, again, how I've determined my costs and go over that. You leave a comment below if that's something that you'd be interested in. I'd be happy to do that as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the app itself. This is it right here, as you can see on the screen. So to set it up, what you need to do is you need to go into here, into the settings, and then you'll need to have your accounts attached to it and enabled. As you can see, I only have Uber. I do have Lyft here. I don't have it turned on because I don't drive for Lyft. I typically am about 90% Uber at this point in time. Once you go in there, you can scroll down to the bottom here where it says service filters. And then I set up the various offers that can come through. As you can see here, UberX, Comfort, Green. Those are the three primary ones here in the Sacramento market. These other ones are more based on San Francisco. So if and when I go drive there, I can turn those on and have the same parameters set up for those rides as well. But since I predominantly just drive in Sacramento, we're just going to cover the three. What we do in these applies to all of them, so we'll probably just go through one of them. We'll just choose UberX as a way to do that. So as you can see, once you go into UberX, you want to make sure that the toggle is switched on to on, so you're filtering the incoming offers for that specific platform. I have long trips on, which by having that on, that filters out all the long trips that come in. So any crazy wild ones, it should kick those out. You can have it on only, which means those are the only ones that you would accept. I don't know why you would, but you could do that. Okay, so this is really where this app, the strengths of this app are, and that is in the auto accept and the auto decline. So we're going to go through auto accept first. So I have it turned on, as you can see. There are these three upfront parameters as far as earning filters. So you can either have the upfront earnings on, which you can state what your minimum is. So for example, if you determine that you don't want to do a ride that's less than $5, you can put $5 in there. You could put some other value in there. And if it doesn't meet that minimum, it won't accept it. The same thing goes for dollar per mile, as you can see there, and the dollar per hour. I have it set at $1.75. So anything over $1.75 will be auto accepted as long as it meets the per hour rate as well, which is $26.78. That $26.78 is my dollar per hour cost factor plus a 90% increase for profit. So that's kind of where that number comes from. In addition to that, I have a passenger rating of 4.75. I don't really typically want anyone in my car that has less than that. For some reason, they've had issues in the past, and I don't want those issues in my car, so I have it set that way. And then as you can see, you can go by time filters. So you can filter out based on the amount of time that it's going to take you to get to the first pickup location, which is where you're picking your passenger up, or based on the time that it's going to take you to get from the first pickup to the last drop off. So you can filter that way, or you can go by total time, and that's what I do. I use total time as a filter. So if the ride is going to take longer than 30 minutes, I'm not interested. It's too long. It's just going to take too much time to do that. And generally what I have found is rides that are going to take more than that 30 minutes are generally going to pay $1 per mile in the 60-cent range, 60 to 70-cent range. And I'm not interested in doing that, so I can filter those out using the total time. Then on top of that, I have the distance. So the distance is from my current location to the first pickup to the last pickup. That total distance can be less than 20 miles. So if the offer comes in and it meets these parameters up here, and the passenger has a rating more than 4.75, it's going to take less than 30 minutes to do, and the total trip distance is under 20 miles, it'll accept it. And with that, I also limit the distance that I'm going to travel to pick them up to 4 miles. So if I have to if it's 4.01, it'll decline it. It won't auto accept the offer, which is exactly what I want it to do. I want it to weed all those things out for me and make the decision for me based on these criteria. One of the great things about Maxymo is that when it figures out things like the $1 per mile and the $1 per hour rate, it combines the distance from where you are to pick up and the trip distance to figure that out for you. So it does that math for you instantaneously to make it easy for the app to make that, it just makes that decision quickly. If you're driving, you don't have to try to figure that out while you're moving. It does it for you. And that's one of the great things about Maxymo, is that it has that ability to do that for you. So those are the auto accepts. So if the offer comes in and it meets all this criteria, it'll auto accept the offer for me automatically. I have to do nothing. It just does it for me. Now, auto decline. So auto decline is going to work kind of in the opposite direction that auto accept does. And that is, I have parameters here that are basically my minimums. So for example, if an offer comes in and it pays less than $1 per mile, it'll auto decline. If the hourly rate is less than 20, it'll auto decline it. Passenger rating is under 4.75, it'll auto decline. Same thing, trip distance and time, the distance and the distance to pick up. If the offer has anything that's under those numbers, it will auto decline the offer for me right away. Again, I don't have to do anything, it does it for me, and that's what makes it great. I do have a bypass amount here. So any offer that's greater than $25, and it maybe some of these things aren't met, it won't auto decline it. It'll allow me to look at it to make my own decision because of the dollar value. Every now and then that comes into play. As a matter of fact, there was the offer that came in the other day that I went into the airport, and it was like almost 15 miles away. Everything about that offer would have been an auto decline situation, mainly because of the distance and the time. It would have been auto decline, but because it came in at $44 for the ride, this $25 threshold allowed me to look at it and make my own decision, which is what I like, and that's why I have it set up this way. So that's auto accept and that's auto decline. Now you can turn these off. You can turn off auto accept, or you can turn off auto decline, or as you can see, as I have them both on, and that's how I run the app, is that way. So what I wanted to do is show some examples of how this will work. So we're going to go back in here to the main screen, and we're going to do view history. And so here you can see where things are being, as this first one right here on the screen, it shows that it was auto decline because it had multiple stops, which is great because I don't like to do multiple stop rides. But also it shows that, that the per mile cost was under $1, which was another reason why it should have been declined. So then if we go down here, so this one for 1408, it didn't auto decline because the $1.69 is greater than the dollar, but it didn't auto accept it because that's under the 175. So the way that I have it set up, this allows me to make the decision on those rides between those numbers of whether or not I want to do that. So that's how this works out. Let's see, here's one that was not auto accepted because the 2580 was less than 2678. Let's see if I can find one where it is. Okay, here's an auto accept that it automatically accepted for me. As you can see, 280 per mile, $40 per hour, total distance of 2.2. The distance, everything matches up perfectly. So when this came in, the app auto accepted it for me. And I think at the time that this came in, I was actually had a ride going at the same time. So it just accepted it when it came in for me. So it already had it queued up. So as soon as I dropped off the one passenger, this one came in right behind it, which was perfect. Here's another one that was auto accepted. And again, so on and so forth, right? You can see where it tells you why it's not auto accepting, and it'll tell you, if it is auto accepted, which is what you want. So that's kind of how I have it set up specifically for driving with Uber and for Lyft for that matter, when I do drive for Lyft, which is again very rare. But the genius of this app is the fact that you can have those parameters set up to only accept the rides that you are guaranteed profitable rides that meet your specific criteria. And the most important thing again is for you to establish what that criteria is based on your numbers. You need to do the math and break down what your costs are and what it costs for you to operate your vehicle and to be out there on a daily basis or part-time basis like myself, and figure out what that is so you have a baseline to set the app up to make sure that you're getting rides that are profitable for you. I have no idea what my acceptance rate percentage is, mainly because Uber doesn't provide that here in this market for some reason, but I'm sure it's fairly low, maybe like 60%, maybe 70 tops. But my cancellation rate is at 1%. I don't cancel a lot of rides because I only accept the rides that I want to do that meet my criteria. So I don't have to cancel the rides. When I do cancel a ride, it's usually because the person doesn't show up, or maybe I accidentally accept a ride because I jumped the gun without really looking at it closely because I'm moving, and then I realize, oh, I don't want to go there because it's outside of my geographic restrictions, and then I kick it out. So my cancellation rate is 1%. But again, I have no idea what my acceptance rate is, but I only accept what I want to do. So that's Maxymo. That's how I have it set up. That's how I base my driving, is based on that criteria specifically. And that's how I turn a profit every month doing this. So if you have any additional questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. I'd be happy to answer them. If there's a further discussion that you want to have or some other information about this specific app, please let me know and I can do another video on that. I don't have any experience with Maestro, which I think is another app that's very similar to this. I'm thinking about maybe getting that app and trying it out just to see and do a comparison between the two. And I may do that in the future, but it costs money to have all the services, and I don't know if I want to spend the money for that because I'm pretty happy with Maxymo. I think it does a great job. It's super stable. It does everything that I need it to do, and I don't really see a need to find some other app at this point in time. All right, so that's what I wanted to do today. Subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions, and I will see you guys out there. Thanks.